All right, welcome back to Chat with the Chief. Having been here again now for 2 months, right? I got that right?
Yep.
2 months.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
What are some things that you would love to take back to Australia, if there's anything? If you're like, oh man, I wish we could do that in Australia. We can't do that in Australia because of these reasons. Is there anything that you've seen how we do business?
There's some technology that we'd like to definitely bring over. The use of working remotely is done really well in DA. We do work remotely at times, but we are limited with our ability to either work from home or close to home. Generally, we come to the office a lot to start our day, to then brief, similar like a patrol, to then go out and have everything with us, whereas everyone in the DEA and law enforcement in general seem to have everything at their disposal a lot quicker and a lot closer to where they need to be at a particular time. There's a lot of in-office based reasons that we need to return to the office.
Do you find that's just because of that's the I want to say it properly, the traditional way of doing things? I was going to say the old way, but I didn't say that. The tradition. You think that's just because that's tradition? That's just kind of how it's always been.
Yeah, potentially. We start work at 7 o'clock every day and finish whenever we finish, and from that 7 o'clock we're working really hard and doing everything we need to, and there's a lot of people that work extremely hard before and after work, when they're not getting paid or when they are doing a task and getting paid some overtime. But DEA is really good at focusing on specific tasks and what they need to do in a day, knowing that this will be the most effective way to do it. So they'll harness people's ability or living location to get them to do things a lot closer before everyone needs to come to the office at 7. There's a lot of positives, obviously culturally as well. There's different cultural aspects of why we do things in Western Australia compared to the US. There are things that we'd like to do that DA do in the US, and we wouldn't be able to implement it just because of cultural reasons.
Like what?
Geographical issues and I guess where our office is based compared to where DA Tampa's office is based. The general civilian community has different cultural, especially dealing with narcotics. Like Jamie was saying, we have a really good relationship with our public because of community engagement and things like that. Maybe we've seen a little bit less community support with federal and local law enforcement here. So they have to combat their time and resources a little bit differently, and obviously the presence of firearms is more prevalent in Florida and the US in general, so there's a lot more time spent with safety at a higher level compared to us, so there's different little aspects that we have to deal with.
I think the biggest thing for me is DEA has shown us that we can run our investigations and our team structures a lot more efficiently. The fact that they can go mobile and just say pick up a laptop and go and get out there as a team is amazing. We are a lot of the times restricted to the office. So I think the use of better technology, the use of being a little bit more mobile and just being more efficient is what I'll take from DEA.
Yeah, I know here I have a cell phone and I have my iPad and I'm in my Tahoe. That's a command center for me. I can do anything out of there. And I could literally do it from my driveway. Walk in my command center literally and work off the phone, work off the iPad. I could have meetings in there. We could do surveillance in there. I mean, I'm literally getting drone surveillance in real time on my phone and my iPad. I mean, so that's awesome. If you can take that back and somehow convince your administration that, hey, moving forward, this is more efficient and more effective, and it's quicker, and it's less wear and tear on you all as far as having to travel back and forth to have to go travel somewhere else, but you had to see my face in the office.
I think even the biggest thing that I've seen in real time multiple occasions is there'll be a phone call, whether it obviously be to the boss or whether it to be a supervisor or another teammate. Well, can you have a look at this for me? They'll pull out the laptop. Yep, no worries, done. As in, that would take us an hour because we're going to go back to the office. Yeah, I'll send that or I'll go print that, rather than just being able to have that ready, type it out, yeah, it's done.
So you don't have like the iPad that I have here at your fingertips where you can
No.
There are
go
some
into
in the
Auhl,
office, but
but not specific for
like
you
our
guys.
unit is 40 plus, and we don't have that many.
But I hear that they're being ordered. We're apparently going to get that capability.
Well, what's great is isn't that the whole point of you being here?
Yeah.
Right?
Basically,
Isn't that the whole point of you being here, to observe, see what they're doing, find out what their connections are, who their vendors are, and then bring that back, right? That's your job.
Yeah, definitely.
Something as simple as last week. We were driving back from South Florida. One of the agents needed something to provide evidence to the laboratory. One of the supervisors was out of touch. They were able to call me. I'm stopping on the side of the road, pull up the computer. Within 5 minutes, they have their report. They're dropping evidence in South Florida. And we were back on the road, and they were able to accomplish their mission.
That's how it's done, baby.
Things that they have seen that are going to actually help them progress, and I think the Western Australia Police Force will benefit from it. And it's all done in a 90-day tour, and they've been instrumental too, and kind of teaching our people about teamwork. One of the unique things, and we call it roll call, they meet every day at 7, but part of their day is to sit down and have coffee but prepare for their cases, and it's a big camaraderie and team building exercise. And I was taken back by that when I went there, because it was part of their day, and they built it in, but it was work. It wasn't just the 30 minutes of having coffee. It was all built around building that team and building that camaraderie. And if you were able to talk to them more, they actually have big events where their group, their entire squad gets together and celebrates their team's efforts, which is, 20 years ago that happened.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not much,
No.
so much anymore, but it's very admirable to see that they take that time to develop as a team apart from work as well.
Yes, the advent of take-home cars, at least for us, really crushed that celebration after work.
Because everyone's just got to go home.
You're just going to go home. You got your take-home car, you're going to go home. It's a work car. You can't do it. You got to be very careful, respect your work car. But what I think is very interesting, what you brought up, that one of your takeaways from them is, when I was a young detective, very aggressive, I wanted to come in, do my job, get out, and I would get mad at the detectives, the senior detectives, because they were sitting having coffee at the table every morning. And to me, it was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, let's go, right? And then one day, one of the senior detectives said, hey, come here. I'm like, yeah. He's like, sit down. I'm like, no, I got cases. He goes, sit down.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm not going to have coffee and chit-chat over here. I want to close some cases out. He goes, this is how we close cases out. And I'm like, what? Literally, a couple of days I did that. We were talking about a case. One of the other detectives was working a similar case. His suspect ended up being my suspect, and we were able to make the arrest based on the information that we both had, that we collaborated. And guess who was buying coffee and donuts after that all the time? This guy. Because I saw it as just not being efficient, but you see the value in that now. So that's again, what I always said, core values, same thing, right? It doesn't matter, accent, no accent, law enforcement's law enforcement. So
definitely.
that's a great takeaway, and we need to do a better job of celebrating our people. Like, we need to figure out a workaround on that. Yeah. For sure. So is that one of the takeaways you would take, or is there anything else that kind of sticks out in your communication?
There is. I actually had the opportunity while I was there while they were working a drug trafficker. Trafficker was moving them throughout the entire Perth area. And what I liked and enjoyed was they have a surveillance team, they have the case agents, and then what do y'all refer to it as, the mirror, or the
major incident room.
So they have a major incident room.
How do I say it?
Major incident room.
How'd
So
you
we'll
say
set
it?
up like a command
Major
post.
incident room.
Mirror.
Sounds French.
Yeah. Sounds fancy. It was fancy. But I walked in with their boss Hutch, and you had team members from each element of whoever was handling either an informant, handling the trackers, handling the phone location data, the team on surveillance. They were all communicating in one room. So it was basically a command center for what was occurring. You could walk in, learn what was going on in a matter of minutes, and they were all communicating with each other, but it brought everybody together in one room, so communications weren't a impediment to what was going on. The surveillance team knew exactly, and they could report that information back, and they had a panel of TVs that showed whether they had a camera or they had the phone location data or the tracking device on the vehicle to put everything together. And that's all built around officer safety and executing a good plan. That was one of the nice things that I actually took away. I thought it was good teamwork And more importantly, just knowing where everything was going on during that operation. There's a little command center. Whereas we're very mobile. We might be here in Sarasota, and the majority of our team is down here. We don't have the manpower to sit back in Tampa in a command center, because everything that's occurring is here in Sarasota. And for us, it's completely different. We want those guys on the street to actually be the ones to make that decision, because they're seeing it live, they're dealing with the activity, and they're dealing with the target element at that point. So, but it was enlightening to see how they operated their command center all from one central post.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, because hearing it, I'm thinking, sounds like a lot of personnel.
Yes.
On that end, where we would probably be a little lighter, a little more spread out, but ultimately that's a lot safer. Right, and the level of communication much faster, but more personnel, more costs. So
I think so. With our division, we have multiple squads. So when something like that happens, like a resolution of a job where there's multiple targets, and we're essentially arresting them and going to search their houses, search their cars, finish a job per se. We will draw from the drug and firearm squad, also our border force, our border patrol squad, which is all based in our building. If there is a job that needs to happen, and they do the same with us. So drug and firearms, if they go to resolution on a job as well, we'll all jump on, and we'll just get it done. We'll go and do multiple search warrants all together. It's very much that, one drive thing, but having a major incident room set up to help assist with that really does benefit, because there's a lot going on. There's if there's 5 different addresses that are going to have search warrants executed on them, it's very good to have that one particular person who goes, yep, or whatever the question is. It's just so much easier having a command post.
One voice.
Yep.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one voice, one message. I love it. And I think, again, that goes back to, you're such a large agency and you're under one umbrella. That's easy to do on the fly, where we're all kind of helping each other out. And he's like, hey, I got this thing going down. I'm like, so do we. We got this other thing going down.
Yeah.
And then we start getting into the challenges of federal versus city, and then there's a lot of moving parts that start coming up if we have to do it super, super quick. I mean, we're usually pretty agile on it. But we don't have a real-time operations center, essentially. But we will soon. We've got one coming, so I can't wait. We do have one coming. We're in the process of building it. It's going to be amazing.
Perfect.
So we'll steal everything. We'll stay in touch. I'll steal everything from you guys, and maybe we'll TDY you back to the States.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the plan.
I'd be happy to show you.
And you guys can show us how to set it up.
Yeah, and a kangaroo and a koala.
Oh, well, I didn't even go there yet.
Every DUI crash has victims. Sometimes it's the driver. More often, it's innocent people. When you drink and drive, you're risking more than your own life.
Don't put others' lives in danger. My name is Officer Petron from the Sarasota Police Department Traffic Homicide Unit. Drive sober this holiday season, and always.
So ultimately, obviously you have been TDY'd over to Australia and vice versa. Ultimately, what you're doing in Australia, how does that impact us here in the U.S.?
As far as our TDY here?
No. As far as the work that you do there, does it impact us in the U.S. as far as drug flow here? Is there a connection here? Do we see any routes where, if you're mitigating issues there, that we're seeing a reduction here at all? Have we seen that?
I wouldn't say reduction. I think the same syndicates or the same people are sending drugs throughout the world. And if we can jump on opportunities in Australia where the DA may not have that footprint in the US, then
it stops that conduit.
Yeah. If
they can't get it in, then yeah.
Basically, if we have good intelligence, good evidence, good witnesses from Australian-based investigations, it can impact any investigation in the world in a positive manner.
And do you see, in your experience, Mike, in seeing their laws, do you see a similarity as far as some of the hoops that we have to go through, or do you see it being easier or the same? Like search warrants, applying for search warrants, et cetera.
There are some nuances that are very different. I would let them explain it, but it is very similar to our process.
Okay.
The court process is similar. The investigations are run similarly, and they do an outstanding job because they're their own nation, their own country. At that point, every one of the traffickers are coming from outside. They could explain one of the investigations where we saw and I say we, but they developed the connections from a international cocaine trafficking organization with ties to Mexico, and the cocaine's coming out of Colombia. And they were able to link those organizations back to the same organizations that are impacting us in the United States.
And so with respect to the time it takes for these search warrants, have you noticed that it takes us longer here? Like, you're like, oh man, I can't believe you guys got to go through all that.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
I think
I think we have it.
Our first day, we had a case with a task force in the Tampa office, and the quickest search warrant they're all high-fiving about was about 2 hours.
That's fast.
Yeah.
It was fast.
How fast over in Australia?
The quickest one I've seen, I don't know, 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
20 minutes?
It depends if it's already written out.
You got to find a judge.
Yeah. It would depend if, like, you've already got the grounds written out because you're already doing the investigation on this particular syndicate. Just adding, like, a little bit of extra to tie that address to this investigation or tie that person, that would be the only thing you need to add, and then go and get the warrant signed. But I mean, sometimes it does take a little while because you got to go find like all the connections to then put on, like, you know, the investigation and go, well, this is the search warrant that I want. But a lot of times we expect that there are going to be more addresses that are identified, so we can stick the same information and then tie that person or place back to it. So it depends. If it was during the day, yes, it is quite easy, but during nighttime hours, obviously we got to wake people up to then go, well, we've got this paperwork, can you sign it for us?
Are you electronic or paper?
Paper.
Oh, wow.
Paper.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
are you guys electronic? Because we're electronic.
We use both, but the courts have moved towards a lot of electronic.
Yeah, that's something we're very envious of. Like, you can buy a house in Australia and never put pen to paper. You can DocuSign all of that.
Yeah.
You can't sign like a witness statement really without having pen on paper.
That's incredible. Like, literally, a lot of our witness statements are just body-worn camera. I mean, because some people just choose not to write, so we just record the statement, and we're like, all right, we're good to go.
And we'll still utilize that. We'll take that as part of an account that does get submitted for court evidence, but we want that pen on paper saying, I am, and this happened at this date. It's just something our courts want, but hopefully one day we do get there, and it is electronic. But
that's a case that's always been that way, type of thing.
So it's a hard push to then go, why are we doing it this way and wasting our time? And you know, when you have a physical document, it could be lost. So if you have something that's electronic, it's so much more like, I suppose if you had a document that was able to be locked down, signed, and you can't edit it, that's it, it's done, it's locked down. But it's such a tangible thing having like a piece of paper. You're like, oh, it's gone, or I've left it in the patrol car, and the next person's chucked it. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, obviously, but just having that physical evidence it is a detriment to the investigation.
All right. And then how about iPhones? Does every officer get an iPhone?
Yep.
Every police officer and some of our other executive and like intel analysts, they have phones. So we're all allocated what we call a One Force phone. It's a program that's on there. But every single officer does now have a phone. And I think that's been in force for maybe 4 years now.
Yeah,
because I think I'm on to my third one, and I do it every year. You get a new one.
Good.
And they are excellent. There are some excellent applications on the phone for searching people, searching vehicles, doing as much as you can for your emails and your general chit chat and documents that come in and photographs that are all sent on the one chat. So we do use the phones pretty effectively. So it is great that they brought those in.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the local patrol guys, they'll be able to do some of their reports on their phone, and it's expected that they do them on their phone rather than come back to the station, type it out. But obviously being on a phone, it's a little bit hard.
So hard.
I know that some of the stations have like iPads, but I think they're very few and far between of allocation. So I think we just need to do better when we're mobile, just to work more efficiently as an agency. And I think we can see that with DEA, like they really push for that efficient. Like if you need this, okay, it makes it easier for your job. All right, let's look into doing that. So we need to be a little bit more versed in that, I think.
Do they do your dry cleaning?
No.
Don't think so.
Oh, we have dry cleaning like service within the building, I think, but we'd have to pay for it.
You got to pay for it,
yeah. You
They
get free dry cleaning?
Mm-hmm. All the officers here free dry cleaning.
Oh, wow.
Make sure their officers, the uniforms are
crisp,
squared away, crisp, clean, and it's delivered. So if anybody's looking for a job.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty good perk to have your dry cleaning brought here, and then you come in and you're getting a clean uniform every day. They take off that uniform that they use that day, boom, put it in a bag, put it in a basket, and it gets picked up
That sounds amazing.
that night. And then in a day and a half, there's fresh uniforms
class service.
here. Yeah,
I reckon it takes up like half of one of your days off just doing your laundry. And obviously,
Right.
if you're on patrol, you've got the 5 sets that you've just worn.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do 10 days straight as well.
Right.
They'll do a 10-day straight of like shifts, and sometimes there's overtime in that as well. So they'll be in the same uniform for like 15, 16 hours a day, and then they're back the next day. And so, yeah, having that would be amazing for our officers, but I don't know that we
Take that back with you. That's my gift to you.
There's one.
That's my
laundry,
gift to
yeah.
you. That's my gift to you when you go back. Like, we hung out with the DEA, but then we hung out with the city of Sarasota. And they
Yeah,
said, well,
yeah.
you should do our dry cleaning.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we'll see. Is there anything that I haven't asked that would be interesting, you think?
So we have our traffic enforcement group that also have what we call boost buses. So they do a really good job, but we're actually really strict as an agency and a police force on driving under the influence, both alcohol and both drugs. So they'll set up in an area, they'll have a whole team out in this bus, and they'll just target. And they'll get cars and cars and cars. Still, when all of our members of the public know that we target it so heavily,
It doesn't
we
matter
still
what
get drunk
time. You get
drivers.
7 a.m. in the morning, 9 a.m., people taking their kids to school.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get this straight. You set up a roadblock? Is that essentially what you guys do?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
A roadblock, and then everybody coming through this thing, you're like, get like, what happens? Like, sir, please roll down your window. Then what?
Yep. They will.
Then what?
So generally it'll be like produce your license, and then they'll be subject to a roadside breath test.
So it's a
like
So it's a-
little
good.
machine that has a straw on it, like I suppose obviously you see on RBT
You just blow
on
into
TV.
it?
Yeah, blow into it. It'll give an indication on the amount of blood, amount of alcohol that you have in your blood.
Okay.
So that works on, I think it's like 3 to 5 seconds of blowing out, and it captures it in the little chamber that you have. And then if obviously it's over, you'll get taken back to a police station where you'll do an evidentiary test.
Okay, like field sobriety tasks, is that?
Yeah, but like we don't have sobriety tests. We'll just go on the machine.
So it's another
It indicates
machine?
whether
So you're like, all right,
so-
we're not doing these roadside
Yeah.
things, now blow into this official machine?
Yeah.
They're pretty accurate, but I think a machine that costs about $3,000 for the handheld one, it's an indication.
Okay.
So then we go back, and I'm pretty sure the big ones are quite more expensive. They do the evidentiary one. It'll print out this whole receipt, and then they'll be whatever the charged on whatever the results are, or you'll get let go if you blow under.
All right, so the mini machine is like develops your probable cause, and then you bring them over there. What if people refuse to blow?
They get charged with so if they refuse on the roadside, then they get arrested for failure to comply, and then they get brought back. And if they refuse on the second test, the larger one, then they get charged with the high range level of drink driving.
There are scenarios as well, especially if you've been involved in it, like crash and you refuse, we'll take you back to the hospital and you get a blood sample taken. But there's also another charge if you refuse a blood sample.
All right, and is there a tab one?
Yeah,
What's
so
that
it's a
one?
drug wipe. Yeah. So at the moment, I think we only test for methamphetamine and THC. I know there are other ones available, but primarily that's what we test for. And it's just simply like you scrape it down. If you do come up positive on that one, same again, you go back and you do an evidentiary test.
Is there a bigger piece of paper they stick on their tongue?
It's
the bigger
more of
machine?
it stays in your mouth a lot longer rather than just like scraping the top cells. It stays in a lot longer. It'll then be sent off for further testing. But it will come.
So you got to wait for those results before
But
you
it will
can.
come up straight away if it is positive, and if it's positive again, we send off the samples. Yeah.
All right, and what's DUI and what's the level? 0.08 is what it's here.
0.15 is DUI. We've got excess 08,
0.15?
but excess 08, we've got
0.0145.
what?
0.0145. Because otherwise, 0.145.
Like here it's 0.08,
Yeah, so we've got
So we have excess 05.
0.05 as well.
0.05.
Yep.
0.05, which is low level drink driving, they call it.
Is that arrestable? Or is that
No,
a civil citation?
You go to summons to court.
To summons?
Yeah.
You don't get
I'm
arrested?
sorry, yeah, the DUI, we have different charges. So we'll have excess 05, excess 08, and then you're driving under the influence, which is, your 0.0145, yes.
0.15, yeah.
All right. Wow. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I can't believe you guys don't have like the roadside tests, like, and still doing sobriety tests, like.
I mean, they used to do that, not so much here, maybe up north, northeast, a lot of the little straw that y'all are talking about there, but not so much here. It's more observation, you know, get behind the vehicle, do observations, and then we really don't lean into the checkpoints so much. But it's, again, law enforcement at the core, same, but there's elements that are different, and it's so interesting to hear that. It really is. So we'll close it out. So Jamie, Brandon, Mike, I just want to thank you so much for being here and let you know how much we appreciate all that you do. And I'm sure at the end of the day, there's things that you're doing in Australia that impact us directly. So thank you, for what you do. And Mike, there's no doubt, what you're doing impacts us here immensely. So we appreciate your partnership, Mike. So, hey, thanks everyone for listening and watching. And as always, live, love, work, and play in our city because we love it just as much as you do. Peace.